if can we see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can, sir.
Okay, so I can go now culture, which okay, let me start by saying this. One of the one of the classes that I joined, which we are teaching, is actually practical tips that can actually help business. And I also want to start by saying that yes, we are not going to be teaching strategy in probably an academic way, but it's just I'm sure if we are going to teach strategy in a business school, it's going to be like a whole semester. And but what we have tried to do is to actually pick what is important, to us. It's every strategy, but I'll just encourage us that yes, we still need to probably read more on some of the things we're going to be talking about. And also, I want to tell us I can tell component of strategy in them. So in fact, we will not even be able to develop a good strategy if we don't understand, or if we are not going to be, referring back to what we've been taught. I know I've been part of class where talk about competition. So basically, it's like also talking about strategy too, because you also need understanding of that to be able to also develop a strategy. The learning objectives, we are in, I believe at the end of the class, we'll be able to know about strategy development and organizational structure, how the strategy and the organizational structure, how they actually structure, how structure affects strategy. So at the end of the day, we should be able to understand that. Introduction to strategy and structure, communicating the we are also going to be talking about when it comes to strategy. Introduction to organizational strategy development process. We're also going to, learn about that, the strategy and culture in a changing world. As a business manager or an intending one, what kind of question should you be asking? Yeah, because of the time, because I know if I ask everybody to probably talk on this one now, we may not even leave here today. But let's just take from 3 people. What kind of question? You are working in a place, or you want to go and work in a place, for instance. What are the kind of question you will be asking? It doesn't matter whether it's a right. I mean, in this case now, there's no right question. So you want to, I work with Matrix Energy Group. And I just call you and say, okay, as a maybe marketing manager or business development manager, HR manager, what kind of question will you be asking me? Just 3 people. Hello?
Sorry, sir. Can you rephrase your
Any question? What I'm saying now is,
hello.
As a business, okay, in any company you are now, So what you should be asking about any business, like I said, is not, you want to know about that business. What question will you be asking that can actually guide you about that business? Let me put it that way. I'm asking you, come and work with me, come and work where I work currently. What kind of question will you be asking me? I know some people, the first question might be, how much are you paying? So I don't want that one. But what else will you be asking me about, my business, what I'm doing currently, about, that can actually show you the kind of business that I do.
Okay, good evening, sir. And good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Given that it's a managerial role, as if I recall very well, you said it's HR or sales marketing. Beyond salary or outside salary, I think one of the core questions to ask is as regards the company's strategic plans or the company's goals, just to understand exactly where they are and where they are going to and how you will fit into the company's plan. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
I'll also be asking now. My own question would be like, who are the target markets?
Okay. Target market. Okay. What else?
Good afternoon. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, my own question is a general question, sir. Because I always wonder why Africa, or let's say Nigeria, as a case study, most of the time, a business that is blooming, that is doing very fine, once the founder or the owner of the business is no more around, everything crumbles. And we used to, like this, so many companies like PZ, John Ott, and so many companies. When we look at their story, it's like 3, 4, 5 generations, and they are still blooming. I don't know what we normally get it wrong. So I've been trying to get that opportunity to get clearance on that question, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Like I said, it's not, we can ask different questions. And I would say some of what we've just asked now, we come into one thing. I don't think anybody wants to go to work in a place where once you get there, your career will just end there. Or you start any salary today, now by next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, salary will stop simply because the business is not sustainable. So it means it's always good for us to actually ask questions that will, like the last person just that asked, where are we getting it wrong? Why is it that we don't have generational businesses in Nigeria? Why is it that you hear about a business 10 years ago and by now you don't know about them again, when actually in other parts of the world we have business like Procter and Gamble that have done well over 100 years. Why is that happening there and they are not happening here? Everyone working in a company, regardless of whether you're a manager or you're a cleaner, or you are, wherever, at what level that you are, there's some basic question that is very, very important. Yes, we don't ask these questions actually, but what I'm trying to say here now is important for us, and we should always be asking. And you will say that what we have also said to their ear, they are inside this question. How do companies in the industry make money? What I mean, let me use bank as an example. I want to go and work in a bank. How, generally, the companies, First Bank, Zenith, GT Bank, all of them, how do they even make their money? There are certain companies we go to, and when people get there, they discover that I can't cope here. Why? Because this is the way they will make their money. And probably my faith, my conscience will probably not, go with it. And through 2, 3, 4, 5 months later, you see whether you are struggling with it. At the end of the day, you cannot move forward, or you are not performing because you cannot actually do what they are doing. So it's important. How do companies in this industry, how does my own company now, the particular one, this is how they make money in banking, but I want to work in GT Bank. How does GT Bank actually make money? Now, in some other organization or other company, let me use my own company now as an example. I work in fertilizer, blending plant. Before I started working, even before the owner of the business said, okay, come and become the MD of this place, the first question, this industry, how do they, in fact, the first question the owner of the business, or one of the discussions we had, because he himself, he hasn't done it before, he didn't know anything about it, it was just somebody saw him at the top doing well in what is, he's doing currently, and he said, this industry, come and do what you are, you have succeeded here, and you come and do the same thing in this sector. And one of the discussions we had is, Jide, help me look at what is the market size here, what is, how are they making money? I don't want to go and invest in what I will discover that, I will discover that I cannot make money the way they are making money. So I had to look at how are they making money. And of course, one of the things I discovered is there's a lot of what they call chua, sharp practices. In fact, I met someone who said, if you cannot join them, you can't make money. Now, I also look at it that, well, it's not all of them. You have one or two that don't actually go by that general sharp practices, and they are still making money. So I told the man, well, ABCDO, this is the way via sharp practices. And another thing is, how do our customers make money? If you are running a business and your customer is not making money, definitely that business may not last. Probably that's one of the reasons why, like the last person said that why do we get it wrong? Why are we wrong? Why is it that our businesses are not sustainable? Because it gets to a point when the customer just discover that you see a lot of schemes. You start that scheme, customers are buying from you. Later, the customer cannot make money again. There's no point patronizing you again. And if no customer is patronizing you, no business. And of course, how do our competitors make money? It's important. You are doing the same thing with them. You are, talking to the same customer. At the end of the day, they will tell you, this is what we make at the end of the day. And you, what is happening? So this is very, very important. And now coming, why I said even trainer should be able to answer this question. Because I worked in a place where they give us what they call mandatory deposits. And I discovered that even a driver will bring customer. The driver will bring customer in a bank. Simply because the driver understands one thing. The customer, the banks need to get customer to make money. Whether in the way of credit or in the way of bringing deposit, and the deposit can be given to the people that want credit. But if this business is not growing, I will also have issue. Of course, that's the general knowledge. But how does this business grow? It grows by having customer. So before you know it, even a driver will tell his landlord that I want to pay rent to. Come and, sir, you can come and open an account with us now. So I'm sure when I said at every level, everybody should understand this, it will be like, why, what is the business of a cleaner with what we are doing here? Everybody. It doesn't mean they will understand it at the same level. It doesn't mean they will understand at the same level. Now, why all this question, why we are talking about strategy, why are we saying people should be able to understand this? Because this is also like fundamental to a workable or implementable business strategy. What is strategic planning and why is it important? One thing I know about strategy is, I know a lot of us actually know what strategy is. Yes, we might be mixing it up with some other thing, but it's what we do from time to time. It's what we do, even as simple as somebody is looking for a future partner, he will come up with strategy. So this is my strategy. This one I've not been in church, I've been every group, or in church I've not joined any group. Let me join one group. Maybe when I join group, I'll start. So it's what we always do. I want to pass, I have a professional exam, I need to pass it. I need to devise a strategy. Strategy planning is the ongoing organizational process of using available knowledge to document a business intended direction. It means it has to do with, when it comes to anything strategy, we actually being futuristic. So strategy is not actually for something of now. Most time is something that is going to give us direction, and when we are talking about direction, it means we are going somewhere. So you don't ask for direction if you are not going anywhere. If you are going to sit at your home, why do you need to use Google Map to get direction? So strategy has to do with has to, just like somebody also mentioned about we need to know where we are going. Of course, you cannot your direction will usually start from Google Map, will usually start from where you are presently to where you are going. This process is used to prioritize efforts, effectively allocate, align shareholders and employees on goals, and ensure those goals are backed by data and sound reasoning. You have to, for instance, like I said, I'm using direction and destination now, as analogy. You want to get, I'm in Zaria currently, I want to get to Abuja. I have different routes I can use. I have different ways to go. So plan has to do with what kind of effort, if I'm going to get there in 2 hours, what kind of effort am I going to put? The effort will also probably determine the resources I'm going to also use. No matter the industry, every business needs a strong strategy to reach its goals. Strategy is needed to cope with the prospect of an unknown and changing future, since it may generally be said that the further we look ahead, the more uncertain we become. One can say, okay, tomorrow you can be certain of what you're going to be doing tomorrow, but believe me, you may not be certain of it this time. Why? Because you don't even know, you are not operating in isolation. So you need a strategy to actually give a direction that, okay, if I get to this point, where if I'm able to forecast and know that there's going to be there's going to be a traffic at a particular place at so time, then I think I might need to just go through these other parts. So strategy is what you need to actually cope with unknown, or changing the future. I've met with different kind of clients want to Jide, come and do this for us, come and develop this business for us, or come and we're having issue in our business, come and help us look at what we are doing wrong. And I can tell you, I always classify the business owners into two. You have some that are result hopefuls, and we have the ones that are result oriented. These are two different categories. The result hopeful is okay. A is doing this business. Let me also open my own shop and do the same thing. The results hopefuls will just, okay, his business decision is based on, because he is doing well in that business. So I need 1 million naira to put into business. He put the 1 million naira. Is okay. Christmas period is coming. A lot of people will buy. Let's say it's running, where it says rice, for instance. Okay, a lot of people come. Let me just buy 2 truckload of, rice, and I know December is coming. We will sell, and at the end of the day, the demand for 5 truckload actually came. Yes, the guy was able to sell his 2 trucks, but has lost of opportunity. Some also, you will go and get loan, anticipating, okay, let me just get loan, buy 5 trucks. And at the end of the day, he's able to just sell 2 trucks. Now he's going to be having issue with the bank. So that is one that is just basing his business just on mere anticipation of results. But some are result oriented. Means they project from beginning and say, the last year the demand was should be able to increase by 5%. As may actually affect demand to reduce. Or lesser people will buy this year. Now it means I need to do a practical example on this. Let's say we sold X metric ton of the raw materials going up. For instance, we sold last year, I think the highest that was the highest. It was clear that we are not going to sell, for anything less than the price will go as high as 25,000. Look at that difference between 11,500 and 25,000 naira. And what that means practically is that lesser people will be able to buy. So lesser people will be able to buy. But the lesser people that will be able to buy, let's say the whole market last year, what people will be able to buy, what they were able to buy last year was 1 million metric ton from different companies. We already knew from January that what would be probably 500,000. What we did was to start, because it's the same market, I mean, it's the same customer all of us are going for. So realizing that, we quickly moving, start encouraging customers. You need to, yes, when you are going to be using this thing is in May, June, July. It's better. This thing is going to get to this high. Why can't you start buying now in January? Don't wait till that time. And at the end of the day, they could not sell, they could not, in fact, of what they sold last year. We still did more than what we did last year, because we realized what we actually have by God's grace. So, and if you are going to be result oriented, it will be based on strategy. So results come by executing or formulated strategy. So that is how you'll be executing strategy, and by executing, strategy, your strategy will be affecting your goals. It will be, you'll be aligning, systems. And at the end of the day, what you are doing in your own cases, if you are result oriented, is that you are achieving results. Somebody is waiting for results. So it means, well, if you sell, fine. If you don't sell, fine. That is what result hopeful. That's what they are waiting for. Why some people are actually achieving. Achievement means you are putting effort, you are executing strategy. So formulating a successful business strategy is a skill that has the potential to propel an organization forward. Yet it can be difficult to know where to start when it comes to formulating strategy. Yeah, it might be difficult. Okay, how do I start? Where do I start? What do I do first? And that is the essence of today's class. So actually, for us to be able to know the starting point of any strategy formulation, there's a strong correlation between strategy and innovation. Very, very, very strong correlation, between strategy and innovation. If you are going to be innovative as a company, it's going to be on good strategies. Good strategy will actually propel innovation. There's a need to understand, what does a strong strategic goal look like, and how do you achieve them? And that is what we are going to be talking here. And another reason why we have to actually understand why we have to be strategic, minded, and why we need to actually understand how strategy can be developed. There's a concept of deliberate and emergent strategy. According to Clay Christensen of blessed memory, of Harvard Business School, from a research that he conducted over, several years, look at several companies over, a long time. And he said 93% of all companies that ultimately become successful had to abandon their original strategy because it was not viable. So it means, when they started, they had a set of strategy, but it gets to some point where some strategy may cease, to work, and they need to develop other strategies. So it means if you don't understand the process of developing strategy, there'll be a problem when it gets to a point where the first strategy, maybe probably a consultant help you to develop, is not working, or a strategy that is an industry-wide strategy, and all of a sudden it's not working again. So if you don't understand what strategy is and how to move, swiftly to another strategy, it might, draw a business owner back. So this explains the reason for the concept of deliberate and emergent strategy. Deliberate strategy is the one that you started with. When you are starting a business, you are deliberate about it. This is what we want to do. You develop a form of strategy, and you are going on. But it gets to a point. Where that strategy is not working again, and you need to go back to the drawing board and formulate another strategy. So we call this emergent strategy because something happened. Example is during COVID time. During COVID time, a lot of businesses, needed to start adopting digital strategy. Is something that happened so suddenly. A lot of people didn't see it coming. A lot of business actually went down as a result of COVID. But it was also the bet, of some other businesses. To some other people, it was also the time for them to actually, the people that could actually switch almost immediately, that could implement that strategy, they started actually making it. Why, in fact, the others that could not, cope, going down. You see from this picture that is here, you see you have, because your strategy must affect resources that you have, there's a resource allocation process. Your deliberate strategy, you see, this is like a kind of, circle in a way. Your strategy will determine how you actually do your resource allocation, which will also dovetail into strategic actions, new products, services, processes, acquisitions. So your strategy will actually determine this, because it means you don't just spend. Your spending should go in line with your strategic direction. You are from Abuja and you are going 1 week, and somebody is already telling you what to make you to spend 1 month. There's going to be a problem, and the resource that you have with you can only carry you for 1 week. So is it that you are going to devise another strategy that can probably to extend beyond today? The actual strategy that results in success is always a bit of a deliberate strategy, a bit of a emergent strategy. Deliberate strategy is developed out of conscious and thoughtful organized action generated from rigorous analysis and implemented top-down. So this usually happens at the formative stage of an initiative. Strategy emerges over time as intentions collide with and accommodate a changing reality. And when this happens, there will be need for emergent strategy. Emergent strategy is undertaken by an organization that analyzes its environment constantly and implements a strategy simultaneously. So it means, as an organization, there's a need for constant review of whatever strategy we are using now, constant review of our process, constant review of what customers want, constant review of what is working, what is not working. It means to get to a point, the emergent strategy will be what will drive business success. What do you think can likely happen in an organization where there is no room for emergent strategy? Because there are some companies, they are so structured that you can't actually do anything new. These are strategy and these are strategy. This is where we are going and this is where we have to go. This is how to go about it, and this is how it will always be. So if you have a kind of organization like that, what do you think will likely happen in such an organization? Answer from 2-3 people. Are we there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what do we think will actually happen if there's no room for emergent strategy in any organization?
They will become less competitive if they're faced with advanced problems that they cannot solve or they cannot counter.
Exactly. I agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. They will become less competitive when they are faced with, a major industry, shift. So what else?
They are likely to get obsolete in terms of advancements. If there are advancements in the industry, they have tendency to get obsolete. So they may not be able to make as much profit. And in the long run, if they have target customers, they would likely lose their target customers because they are not up to date with the occurrences and developments in the industry to implement them because of strategies. They won't have strategies for that.
Exactly. This actually reminds me of when there's a particular bank I worked, because I think Star Trust Bank that became UBA now. One thing that I will always, credit I will always give to Tony Elumelu is how fast he responds. How fast he responds. I remember a particular time there was a sanction. That sanction, a sanction on FX, the bank, CBN just said, some staff just did certain thing, and CBN, because of that, sanctioned the bank. And they said, okay, we are not going to do FX for 1 year. This same sanction was applied to Allstate, and Allstate Bank went down. This same sanction was applied to Diamond Bank, but Diamond Bank nearly went down. Thankfully, M10 came, and the owner of Diamond Bank then happened to be the chairman also of MTN, and MTN Business helped them. Now, in Standard Trust Bank, the same thing happened, and nothing really happened to us. And especially I saw this firsthand because I was working in the East, in Onitsha precisely, and okay, I think as at that particular time I was not in Asaba, but of course, most of our customers in Onitsha happen to be, a lot of them are importers, so they need FX. So they need FX. We had to change. We just had a discussion as, okay, normally no bank will go and be taking customer to another bank. No bank will do that. But we discovered that is a strategy that will survive us, because all these customers, once they know that you cannot get them FX, they are ready to move to the banks that will get them FX. Unfortunately, a lot of the that you have some banks that are doing FX, but they don't have the customer base that we have. So immediately what we just did was to, look at the strategy of, collaboration now. We are competitors, but this time around now, what we need to do now is to collaborate instead of, so we quickly move that, that sense of this bank is my competition now to know I need to collaborate with them. So we went to them, and some of them don't have the kind of customer base that we had. And we just have an agreement. Don't worry, we'll move, once my customer need FX, I'll come to you. So you provide the FX. So we have to fashion the, because once you have strategy, there must be tactics to it. And you must also look at what is the purpose? What is the original reason for actually going this way? The original reason is to keep our customer. So we must have the tactics that will get the FX to them while we are still keeping our customer. So it means there must be a way where interface will actually be, control, such that they will not take my customer because of my weakness. And for that 1 year, nothing happened to our customer base, because that thing they needed, we were still getting it for them. So that is one of the beauty of emergent strategy. So one of the things, when we're talking about the question we need to ask and all of that, for me, in those days when I actually moved from one bank to the other, one of the things I usually like to know then is the antecedent of, the MD of the bank. How strategic, is he a strategic thinker? Is important as well. Let's look at the case of the BlackBerry. Let me say I looked through the group, and I'm actually impressed with. I'm impressed with some of the submissions, the review. I'm happy that we actually, read it. Some of us mentioned 1 or 2 things. Some of because this slide has been prepared, so I know some of what is here, we've talked about it, but I still want us to just take maybe like next 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes max to actually discuss this case, because some other thing we'll be talking about, will be, sorry, I don't know why this is happening. Okay. So, why did you think BB succeed? Why did you think BB? Why do you think they succeeded initially? We all know the success story. Initially, they actually succeeded. So why? Who can tell us why you think they actually succeeded initially?
So
Yes, sir. Mo wà ní class ni, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, I can hear you.
I don't know. Well, I think is because of their deliberate strategy that that took into account who their target market was at first, and then what they could actually offer that target market that was exceptional. So that's why they were able to succeed at first. That's what I think.
Okay.
I think another point again is that they succeeded because there was no much competitors, so people accepted whatever they made them.
Okay. So the first person.
They took. Oh, sorry.
No, continue.
Okay.
Continue.
They took initiative. The mailing, there was direct mailing, and I don't think that was available at the time, where people could, by their mobile devices, reach out through direct mailing. And that was one of the first innovation. Let me call it innovation at the time. Apart from the email, that was the first time they could have direct mailing or messenger apps. I'm sorry, I'm in transit, so I'll just mute now.
No problem. Okay, another person can talk. Hello? The free and succeeded because they actually had strategy, and the strategy actually worked. And the strategy actually contributed to the second person actually said no. I also agree with the fact that yes, there was innovation of a direct mailing. Let me, combine these three contribution from the three people to as blue ocean strategy, and I think that's what they actually used. Blue ocean strategy means that typically it's just like somebody by the beach, by the bar beach, and somebody goes, okay, let me go inside. There's someone, there's a kind of island, inside the ocean. Let me just go there. I can service the people in that place. Nobody, they will need the boat, they will need this one, they will need that one. So it means it's a kind of idea that makes where you actually create your own market. You create a new market, and you are making competitors irrelevant. That's actually so. With that innovation, they made competitors, because not that no competition at that time, but none of the competition are able to. Were able to do this direct mailing thing. So is what they call blue ocean strategy, and that is what contributed to the success. Thank you very much. So second question is, well, what was the basis for the competitive advantage? I think we have actually mentioned it too from this our answer too. The basis is just the direct emailing. The competition will actually do that as at that time. So what was the big response to the new product from the competitors? When the competitors now say, okay, your thinking is that we will not be able to get speedboats to get us to that island where you are. Now we are able to get the speedboat to get where you are, so that some of these your customers can still patronize us, and that's what happened. So what was the response? What was the response? Or did you think their response, and why you think they responded that way?
So you're asking the third question, right?
Yeah, the third question. When eventually the competition caught up with them, so what was the competition came up with their own products as well.
Good
evening, sir.
Okay.
Good evening. Yes. So, the third question. Yes, according to that extract, I would say the response was actually a kind of a personal flow on the side of the CEOs. And I think Larry I can't pronounce the name actually. So he was so confident in BlackBerry stance, to make the market change and everything. And they were not emergent. Let me just put it that way. They didn't know that iPhone actually, because I actually studied that case too, like out of the material, and I discovered that iPhone actually absorbed a side of BlackBerry's model, because BlackBerry initial product offering was for professional market, professional consumers. So iPhone also came into that state, that space, stepped in and made something unique out of that, which killed BlackBerry. Yeah, I hope I answered the question. Like, they were not emergent. BlackBerry wasn't seeing beyond its circle. Actually.
Yes. So, uh, okay, just like what he said, the response was a positive one. Why? Because they actually lack emergent, strategy skill. They believe that this strategy that moved us to this point. They probably underrated, iPhone. And even at that time, iPhone was not even one of the top. The top players happened to be, I think, Nokia, Samsung. iPhone wasn't even one of the top. So it's like they came from behind, so to speak. So it means even in competition, you don't underrate any competition, no matter how small. You don't in the Porters 5. Yes, one of the criteria there, or that you look at when you are analyzing your competition, is, and a lot of breakdown. No, one should not think like that. No matter how, uh, um, how high the barrier is, force, the competition or the competitor into disruptive strategy thinking. Okay, we should be able to disrupt the market. So sometimes when the barrier is even too high, it can actually force, yes, we are going to discuss some of the things that actually give competitive advantage. And we'll also will be in the course of this, case cost baby's form is also still in what we have actually answered to. Majorly is because they did for immediate, strategy. Strategy challenges. Some of the keys we have. Number one, most companies do not have a clear strategy. Yes, when they even say they have strategy, it's not clear. And that is where cleaner cannot even talk about in the company. Some company no strategy at all. No strategy at all. Why do I need any strategy? Everybody is selling phone. Once I have a shop, no strategy. A 250-page document lost in the filing cabinet of few top officers. Yes, some companies, this is what usually happen, especially very big organizations. They will just engage and they will do that. When they do that, there will be a strategy section involving few managers and document, they will that understand this, such strategy will not work, because as a man, I remember also when I was in the bank, changing our software, and I think the bank first sent about probably 7 people thereabout to India to go and see firsthand how the software want to change to how it works. When they came back, them that nobody should understand it, why we are using this software, because initially there was a kind of resistance. The software we are using before is faster, is this one, is that one, why are we using this? And the major reason why we are changing is because the first software we're using is actually how software works is, some of our banking software, you buy a license, and the license will be tied to the number of users, because okay, the license you buy now is for 1,000 users, and the bank is growing from 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000. So what means is simultaneously you cannot have up to more than 1,000 people working, and that is affecting business. So when they are changing to the one that can actually accommodate as more than 1,000 people, people are complaining. They try to communicate to everybody that no, this thing, no, in every change, there's usually a problem. People always find it difficult to adapt to change. But there's a communication that sacrifice time to use it. You need to, one bulky document somewhere that everybody will not be able to understand. So another challenge is yes, but some top manager cannot even understand it. So how do they cascade it down to their subordinates? It will be difficult. So a strategy that means different things. Same strategy, it means it to Mrs. Anna. So that kind of strategy will be difficult to implement or to execute. Some are just a mere plan, not strategy, just a plan. The plan is we want to get here. How are we going to get there? At what pace? So that is what some companies just have. And but some of those initiatives are not driven by strategy. So once initiatives are not driven by strategy, it will not really work. But what is actually the real problem? The real problem is actually that most executives don't actually even know what the strategy involves. They don't even know what it involves. They don't even know what the execution of such strategy, what it entails. And so cannot communicate that strategy in a way that actually drives behavior and innovation throughout the organization. So these are actually the real issue. If the people carrying out the work don't know the plan, don't expect that they will act accordingly. So if they don't know what the strategy is all about, driving it will be difficult. What is strategy? Sincerely, I'm sure if you Google what the strategy is now, you are likely going to get more than 20 definitions. And I started this class by telling us that what we're trying to do in this class is to actually share tips that can help us in our business, not actually academics, not actually vocabulary or some plenty English. No. So we just want us to understand certain things that can help us in plain terms. So whatever definition you are seeing here is just for the purpose of this class. You might do your own further reading and you are seeing some other definition, is still fine. So I want us to actually, in a class of this nature, what is important is that there will be some key things that we should just underline or just, you may not be able to know what the definition is in 2 lines or 4 sentences or, but basic thing. You say, I started talking about strategy by telling us that it has to do with direction. So always know that when we talk about strategy, have a mindset that is also about direction. So another thing I'm bringing in now is that it's also about choice. A choice. Because if there's a direction, you may decide not to, as a matter of choice, you may decide not to go that direction. So strategy is about choice, a deliberate choice. So the choice of a future is about future. Like I told you the other time that is about, it's about direction, it's about where you are and where you are going to, or where destination. So you can say it's a choice of a future and of a way to reach that future, the way to reach that destination, or a path to reach the future or to reach the destination, understood as a framework that coordinates, unifies, and integrates the company's decisions and actions. So it's about strategic choices. It's about strategic choices. If somebody is going to get married, for instance, it's a strategic choice because you are picking that man, choosing that man or that woman as a matter of a kind of an anticipated future. Same thing with a company or a business. You are choosing a business, you don't just choose it. You are choosing what your business is going to be doing, how you are going to make money, because every choice, has, consequence or consequences. So that is why, a strategic choice is not just a choice. It's a choice you are going to live with. It's a choice the business is going to live with. It's a choice that will make or mar the business. So always remember that strategy is about choice. It's about future. It's about paths. It's about direction. That's what strategy entails. So strategy defines the company's distinctive approach. Like I told you, strategy can be defined in different ways. This particular definition is telling us that it's also about that choice needs to be unique. That is what this thing is. That is what this particular definition is talking about. That defines the company's distinctive approach to competing and the competitive advantages on which it will be based. So strategy is about a unique or distinctive choice. So the success of a strategy depends on doing many things well, not just a few. So strategy is not just about one thing. It's about so many things. So, and you are going to define those things from the beginning of the business. Or in the course of the business, in the case of the deliberate strategy, so you are going to determine, all those things you are going to do well, or how you are going to do several things well, or the approach, strategic approach you are going to be using. And as you can see there are 2 parts. There's a part that is not just defined. And we refer to that one as a non-strategic part. And there's a strategic part that is defined. Yes, it doesn't mean, it may not just, it's not straight, but at least it's defined, it's strategic. So this is what strategy is. So what does a good strategy have? Or what can we, or how do we define a successful strategy? The basics or the fundamental of a successful strategy, number one is long-term, simple, and consistent goals. You cannot have strategy without goals. Long-term, it has to be simple, not something that is bogus or ambiguous, and consistent. Deep understanding of competitive environment. It means if you are going to be coming up with strategy, you need to understand your environment. It's very important. You don't follow everybody. You don't follow crowd. Even when you are going to follow them, know that you are following them to the right path to get to your own destination. Because the people you are following, for instance, all of us are living in Abuja, and we are going to, that's your assumption. Your assumption is that they are going to Lagos. You follow the vehicle. And you don't know that some of them just want to drop at Lokoja. Some of them will drop at Okene. Some of them will drop at Ibadan. You that you are going to Lagos know that you cannot afford to, if it's by car, you cannot afford when you reach the Lokoja, you cannot afford to now sit somewhere and start eating, start drinking for 2 hours. But the man who is going to Okene can afford to do that. So you have to know the crowd you are following. You have to know if they say, okay, this is how we do it in this way, in this business or in this industry. You need to know why they are doing that way. The way they are doing it will probably not get me beyond where they are. So you need to know, their own mindsets. They might be myopic. You are going further. So it's important. Objective appraisal of resources. Now, your strategy would also depend on the resources that you have. Would these resources take me to where I'm going? How do I multiply it, so that it can take me to where I'm going? And of course, effective implementation. So without implementation, the strategy is as good as it's not better than no strategy. The role of leaders in strategy. I see us as a business leader already. As a manager, we are leaders. Business owner, we are leaders. So what do they do when it comes to strategy? What's their role? They lead the process of choosing the company's unique position. As a manager or as a business owner or CEO is actually the chief strategist. The choice of strategy cannot be entirely democratic. That's the truth. In those days, Tony Elumelu used to tell us that you are the CEO of your desk. So when we say CEO here, it doesn't mean he's the overall boss. That desk where you are the CEO of that desk, and you should be able to take some strategic decision. Please, 1 minute. Sorry. Leaders clearly distinguish operational effectiveness, improvement, and strategy, because these are they are two different things. They communicate. Is the role of the leader to communicate the strategy relentlessly to all constituencies. What do we mean by this? As a governor of a state, for instance, at every function that you go, one of your responsibilities is to talk about the strategy or strategic direction of that state. We are here now. This is where we are going, and this is how long it will take us. to get here. Because that's one of the major issues we have in Nigeria. Sometimes it appears as if we are not patient, and government will keep telling us Nigerians are not patient, we should be patient, we should be patient. But unfortunately, we don't even know how long we are going to be patient for. So that is one of the, one of the issue we have with people that lead us. There's a need for clear communication, for constant, continuous communication. This is where we are going to get to this point by tomorrow, and after tomorrow we'll move further. Communication is one of the major roles, of leaders when it comes to strategy. Maintain discipline around the strategy in the face of many distractions. There will always be distraction. Distraction can be inflation. FX has moved from 600 to 650 to 700 to 730. Yes, to some people it will distract. To some people it's a matter of strategy. So there is a need to maintain discipline around strategy. Decide which industry changes, technologies, and customer needs to respond to, and how the response can be tailored to the company strategy. Like I said, distraction, any change can be a distraction and can be a strategic issue. So as a leader, what you will do is, once there's a distraction from the industry, or once there's a change, is the role of a leader to respond, to know the one you will respond to know the one you will ignore. Measure progress against the strategy using tailored metrics that capture the implications of the strategy for serving customers and performing. Sell the strategy and how to evaluate progress to the financial markets. Commitment to strategy tested every day. These are the rules of leaders. You need to know, is one leader or CEO. I worked in different banks, but Tony sincerely stood out. When it comes to response to distraction, man, this guy is something else. The way he responds to issue is just like someone that actually thinks on his feet. And it's not just that, it's simply because the man had strategy. So even strategy help you in responding, to uncertainty, to any issue that will just come down. You don't even know what it will mean for the company. Please, you can stop me at any point in time to ask questions, please. So that will make me to know that we're actually, flowing. Are we flowing so far?
Yes. So, the part from the other slide where you said something about the strategy and will not be democratic.
Yeah.
You mean like it will not favor everyone? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, what I mean, where did I post, which slide itself is that?
Next slide, not this one. This.
Okay. I said, what I know, I said cannot be entirely. Cannot be entirely. So it means that some time. Okay, let me give you an instance. In our company, we just install these biometrics for clocking in, clocking out. And of course, definitely everybody, a lot of time, people don't want to be controlled. And some people came and said, hey, this clocking out, different people came. Some group said, why this thing now? So people have been coming early before. Why this one? Now this one is making it to look as if we are only coming in because of clocking out. And me, I know that's not true. Understand? So some people are saying that. Some people, because it comes with punishment too. If you come late, there's punishment for coming late, there's punishment for absenteeism. So some people say, hey, you see, 5,000 naira per day for absenteeism or late coming, it's too much. And I said, well, if that 5,000 naira is too much for you, then it means you come early. It's a choice. If you think 5,000 naira is nothing, so that's what I mean by not entirely. But if you throw it out, I mean, throw it to everybody. Let people who support debiting people, punishing people that come late, say yeah or say nay. You know the people that will have it now.
Yes, sir.
So that's what I mean. So sometimes, because, and that's why that's what leadership actually means. Sometimes what other people are not seeing, we are saying it. You have, as a leader, there's some, you have a level of experience. You have a level of probably research that you have even done, to take certain decisions. And some people just come without, for me, what I always advocate is this: if you have a superior argument, no problem, bring it. Superior argument means you are backing it up, maybe with research. You are backing it up, maybe with evidence. So that's a superior argument. So what I will not say is for a leader to actually have, to cast everything in concrete on the stone. So I probably don't subscribe to that kind of leadership. But at the same time, I will also still say that a leader must be firm.
Okay, sir.
I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you.
So communicating a strategy involves everyone in an organization, not just top management. So the benefits of strategy are greatest when it is communicated widely in the organization. I think I've also we've talked about this, which is one of the roles of the leader. Communicating strategy requires a simple and vivid way of describing the essence of the company's unique position. Simplicity is so key when we are communicating. It's so key. Symbols of the strategy are invaluable tools. Also, repetition is important when we are communicating. If a facilitator will keep talking about one thing, it's not that it's just repeating it. It shows how critical is very key when we are communicating. Strategy. As channel suppliers, I'm sure. What about confidentiality? Yes, it must be protected. Why not?
Hello.
Hello?
Okay. Are we all back? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see.
So, process of strategy, okay. Process of strategy development. In different literatures, like I'll keep saying, this is actually for us to be able to understand, how to go about strategy development. You can read some literature and they might be giving some framework and all of that. It doesn't mean they are wrong or we are wrong. It just means it's just another way of achieving the same thing. So this is just what I've come up with for the purpose of this class. The first thing I want us to understand when it comes to strategy development or formulation is what are the key elements of any strategy. The key element of every strategy is, these are the elements are the objectives, advantage, and scope, that will actually, every strategy must be clear about what the objective is, must be clear about what the competitive advantage, will be, and also, of course, the scope that strategy will be touching must be clearly, defined. HB referred to this as OES strategy statements. And instead, every strategy development must start from OES statements, strategy statements. And it's recommending that it should not be more than 40 words so that everybody can be able to, at least 40 words can be pasted all over the company, can be, so of course, the 40 words cannot dovetail into a very bulky document. But that 40 words will be like what is guiding, the organization. The OAS statement, this is how it is. The objective. The objective with specific figure, hello, sorry, I just need to attend to someone. My screen is not shared again? Is my screen shared?
No, sir, it's not.
Just 1 minute. Okay, let me share it now. Okay, can we see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the primary goal, the objective should be, the A is advantage, and it should actually be a competitive advantage. And this should be talking about value proposition, description of what firm does differently, better, or uniquely compared to all other competitors. Is important. Every business must look at what I need to do differently. The drivers, this is what the competitive advantage should be talking about. And demographics, psychographics, etc. That's behavioral now, something to attract people's behavior. Definition of the domain in which we will operate. That's what the scope is. The objective, let me expatiate more on what the objective should be. The primary goal or goals that motivate behavior in organization and that will be rewarded. Simple, it has to be simple and measurable. It has to be simple and measurable. That is why we talked about specific, measurable 10%, 20%, 30%, or it might not be in percentage, it can be in figure. It can be you want to make this can be in form of targets, profitability, size, market share, can be defined in absolute or relative terms, involve a time horizon. Ideally, should be a single target, so that it is, but it doesn't matter even if it's multiple targets. So multiple targets confuse the organization. If there is more than one goal, the hierarchy should be clear. So if it's going to be more, let it be clear. Let it, in terms of preference. The advantage. It's talking about description of what the firm does differently, as like I initially mentioned, better or uniquely, can be divided into two components. What is the value proposition to the customer? What advantage we provide them, why they should buy from us. Then secondly, how we will deliver that efficiently. Sometimes it can also be value proposition to the customer and to the company. If it's going to give the customer money and it's going to run the company at loss, it means it's no longer a value proposition. So it should actually be two-way to the customer and to the stakeholder. Strong competitive advantages are typically supported by distinctive activities that cut across the value chain and reinforce one another. Clearly identifying what the firm does differently from competitors and what it does not do than competitors do. Description should be adequate to allow every function in the organization to understand how they must be configured to contribute to hit. To pay attention here, or competitive come from two major areas in an organization. It can be from a structural position. It can be also from organizational capabilities. Structural position is something like first mover advantage, economies of scale, economies of scope, distribution network. Let me use bank as a good example. There was a time the banks like First Bank, Union Bank, UBA, they had a kind of first mover advantage over the new generation banks at the time. And the First Bank was consistently the biggest bank for years, based on position, or based on structural advantage. There was a particular time First Bank had millions, they have billions that the owners don't even know the depositors, are already, they are died and nobody knew they had money there. And the lack of First Banks kept turning it over and over and over and over and over. And so that made them to be bigger than other, the new generation banks. Of course, the trust issue. Most companies, before they even think about GT Bank in those days or think about Zenith, or Diamond Bank, they would think of First Bank first, banks, maybe because of those banks were using them. Of course, economies of scale. Economies of scale is when a company can produce 1 million of a particular item in one day. And the other company is there, they cannot even produce up to 100,000 per day. There's going to be economy of scales, which will impact on cost of production. And with that, when there's a kind of price war, they can use price war and drive the competition away. So that is what economies of scale does. And of course, there's also economies of scope. Economies of scope means you have a structure or equipment line that can actually do multiple things. Meanwhile, you have some companies that they cannot just do more than one thing. So they cannot do more than one thing or more than one scope. So when you have economy of scope, it can also give a competitive advantage. Let me give an example of that in my own line of business. We have both economy of scale and economy of scope. Now, economy of scope is there are some companies that are doing fertilizer the way we are doing it, NPK, the way we are doing it. They can only produce just one particular product. But they cannot produce other products, new products. So when some customers come and say, and they can't produce what they need. Why we can presently, we can produce even in line with what we call soil specific or crop specific economy of scope, and it's one of the competitive advantage that we used to actually drive sales this year. And one of the reasons was some other blender time that First Bank, the reason why a lot of people will bank with First Bank is because they have networks all over. They have maybe well over 500, 400 branches all over the country, and the like of GT Bank where I've worked before. At the time I worked in GT Bank, my branch in Onitsha was number 11. either 11 or 10, you know. And you now have First Bank that they are all over. In fact, the GT Bank will even have account. We had to maintain account even with First Bank for us to be able to reach some customers. Why some banks too, like FCMB in those days used to be just they used to be merchant banks. They have account with us so that we can help them reach their customers, you know, in the East. They were just in Lagos. So that is distribution network, branches, channels can be advantage. Now, what this means is that as a business, you need to look at what structural position do you have that can be a competitive advantage for you. Sometimes you don't even realize it. So you will need to be deliberate about it. What structural position do I have? So organizational capability has to do with the organization, the way it's structured. So you can see where strategy, organization, structure. So we, in organization, what are the capabilities that we give? Knowledge, customer relationship, culture, great people. That's your look at your staff. When we talk about great people include your staff, allies, some people, some people that just well wishers. That's some people that just want you to succeed, you know, in that community. So it's important. Management style, leadership. These are, you know, like intangibles that can actually be competitive advantage. I would like to say that we need to know that structural positions sometimes can be eroded. Like I mentioned, First Bank had plenty branches in those days, and it was a competitive advantage. But is it like that today? Union Bank had plenty branches in those days, and it was a competitive advantage. But is it like that today? No. You can now see First Bank, Union, they are not even in the top, you know. They are not even, I'm not sure Nigeria. It's so-called generation bank of them. So it's like
We can't hear you, sir.
I was actually thinking it was my connection, but could you type it, Stephen? Type it on a chat. Okay, so I'm sure it's probably a network issue.
On my side?
So let's shortly.
Oof. Is it from my side?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now, sir.
Let me see if I can change. If I can switch.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But we can hear you now.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
It's still loading. Yes, sir, we can see it now.
Okay. Okay. So I was saying that there's a need for us to know that structural position can actually get eroded. So hence it is important to build organization capacity more. It is really the powerful competitive build. It's okay. I've built I'm running a rice mill, for instance, and I've built 1,000 metric ton per day rice mill, and because of that, there's availability. I have economy of scale, and I have that as a competitive advantage. And I don't care about my customer, whether they come is cheaper. And that comes on with better technology, better economy of scale than myself, and is ready to do price war with me. May cease to work and now work for me will probably be my organizational capability or competence. So there's a need for us. So organization competence must be embedded in every aspect of the ways in which the firm does business. And so when we are talking about organizational capacity or reflects who values our values, performance metric, products. We actually, when we want to hire someone, it means what will determine the person we hire is the kind of knowledge we want. Culture, be able to work, in line with our culture. We are talking about OAS, objective, advantage, scope. Without the domain in which we operate can be defined in multiple dimensions. It can be in terms of value chain, in terms of geography. It can also be in terms of product or customer. I will still give an example of this. The combination of this define what we are trying to achieve and how we measure our progress, what sandbox we will operate in, what means we have to realize our goals. The combination is going to combine all these three, or we are going to come up with a strategic statements that we have the objective, the competitive advantage, and the scope. Compares precision about competitive positioning, which actually drives behaviors throughout the organization. Statements, that we're going to drive execution is from these statements, that we are going to, that will link the strategy and the culture. Please, is there any question? Before I proceed, any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So, what do we consider when we are creating strategy, especially when we want that strategy to be a winning strategy, or we want that strategy to be effective? We have to understand the organization's purpose. I'll still talk more about this in brief. A unique value proposition compared to other organizations is important. This value I'm proposing is ABCD not doing it. Even when they are doing it, how am I going to do it better? Is important. A distinctive value chain embodying choices about how the organization will operate differently to deliver its uniqueness is important. Making clear trade-offs and choosing what not to do as part of strategy is actually admitting or agreeing among ourselves, as a management on what we will not touch, or strategy you will not do, even when you are going to make profit from it. A good example, I will still use my company as an example. The raw materials we use in blending fertilizer come from one source, which is NSIA, Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority. So they are the one that coordinates the raw materials. What we just do is to give them bank guarantee, and they give us and we pay. There are some other blenders that cut corner. What do? They will not use it to produce. They just go and sell off the raw materials. So from day one, we decided that anything that will not be in line with, regulators, will not do it. It's part of our strategic intent. It's strategic, not to touch anything that will be cutting corner. So when we see other people doing it, people come to us, bring tempting offer, we will not do it, because strategically we have said we don't want to do wrong thing. Now, this is starting from our purpose. What is the original purpose, the original reason why we are actually in this business? If you remember, I told you, it's just somebody, top person in the government called the owner of the business and said, you have done well in oil and gas. You are, stabilizing your sector in a way. Can you do the same thing in fertilizer? This is a sector that is giving our agri sector a subsector that is giving a major sector, which is agri sector, an issue. There's no way we can move forward in the main sector of agri if you are not getting fertilizer subsector properly. So our purpose is to set right, is to actually do right thing, is to let people know that you can actually win while you are doing the right thing. So when they are now telling us to do wrong thing to make money, definitely is going to be against our purpose. So it's important making that is what trade-off actually means. Activities that fit together force each other. Your strategy will also, when you are determining your strategy or formulating it, you are going to also look at, the strategy is not just that statement alone. It will dovetail into initiatives, strategy to tactics to initiatives. So it means you are not going to embark on initiatives that will not that will defeat the purpose. Rather, you will encourage initiative that can fit with other initiatives, because there will be several initiatives. So it means there have to be initiatives that will fit together and reinforce one another. And this is one of the problems we are also having as a country. You have a lot of initiatives that are already weakening some other initiative. So we have to, there must be, if you are formulating any policy, it must be a policy that will take into consideration existing policy or similar policy. Strategic continuity with continual improvement in realizing the strategy is also important. So, sustainability in business. Without, a strategy that drives the business towards continuity, sustainability will be difficult. In all of this, whatever we are doing must be answering three key questions. How we will create value. Whatever strategy we are formulating or developing must result or must be telling us how value will be created. You can see we mentioned value proposition. And it's not only that we are going to be creating value, it must also address how value will be captured. So you create value for customer. Capturing value is when you are getting paid for that value. That is capturing value. When you see a lot of people will create, there will be a lot of innovation that will actually help customer or help humanity, but they will not be sustainable because they are not, the ways to capture value, are not also factored into it. And of course, how we will deliver value. You have created it. This thing is good for customer. Delivering is getting it to the customer or to the market. How we are going to capture it. So, whatever we are considering, whatever initiative we are putting into place in the process of strategy development must be able to create value, capture value, and deliver value. See, I mentioned purpose as one of the key things that we must consider when we are developing or formulating strategy. And I give example of the purpose driving what we are doing, where I am in Zaria. When setting out to create a winning strategy, the first question to ask yourself is, what is my organization's purpose? It's always important. And there's this triple bottom line concept, which is called 3 Ps. So it means your purpose will revolve around profit, people, planet. You are not going to make profits at expense of people. You are not going to make profits at expense of the planet. Meaning you are not going to be doing you are not going to engage in any form of business that will be destroying the environment. You are not going to take a strategic decision that will promote the damage of the environment. Whether you like it or not, climate change is real. One of the topics or subjects I teach in the university is energy, environment, and ecology. And believe me, climate change is real. And if nothing is done about it, it's going to consume the world. It's going to come, it's going to cause a lot of issues, from drought to famine to, a lot of issues, to flood, to we are seeing a lot of things happening: tsunami, hurricane, flood, wildfire here and there. These are impact of climate change. So our purpose in business must revolve, must be sure that yes, you are going to make profit is key, because if you don't make profit, the business will not be sustainable. But at the same time, you have to be people oriented, you have to be environment oriented, or be conscious of the community where you play. Another example is Procter & Gamble. P&G described the purpose inspired growth strategy of touching more customers' lives in many parts of the world as the most consistent factor to their success. P&G, they are saying the most. If there is any factor they look at every now and then that is contributing to why they are succeeding, I'm sure we all use one item from Procter & Gamble. Somebody say something? Did somebody say something? Can you go on? Can I go on? Can I continue?
Yeah. I've muted the person.
Can I continue?
Yes,
can
sir,
I
you
continue?
can.
Okay, so
Yes, sir. I think that was just someone might have.
Oh, okay. P&G, I'm sure in some of our houses, we are going to have one P&G item. Maybe their soap, they are using Safeguard, Oral Bill, area, couple of things that are P&G. Sometimes they will even buy them, we don't even know the MD as at said products of superior quality and value that improve the lives of the world's consumers now and for generations to come. You see, that is a strategic statement. As a result, consumers will reward us with leadership sales, profits, and value creations, align our people, our shareholders, and the communities in which we live and work to prosper. One of the things I want to tell us as a manager, as a leader, is that choose your word. Anytime you have opportunity to meet customers, always choose your word. Don't just say anything. Make your word to be strategic. In that thing you are saying to the person, you are letting the person know how he's going to gain from you. You can see this is strategic statement. The man is saying it starts from the purpose, because the purpose is about touching life. We are going to be producing superior quality, and value that improve the lives of the world's consumer. Let me use this as an example. There was a time that some researcher actually picked some toothpaste. I think the only toothpaste they didn't pick was Sensodyne. Oral-B was one of the things, and from that research, they discovered that Oral-B actually, well, sorry, it's just for the purpose of the class. I'm not doing advertorial for them. I'm not a shareholder in P&G, and they said Oral-B actually are the most active ingredients. They had the best, meaning that what they said they put when they test others, the other B is the one that's actually the most active. So you see, it will keep reflecting what, because this will reflect in what the people in production. Please give me 1 minute to put on my generator. I'm having light issue. Just 2 minutes to instruct people to put on my gen.
Okay, sir.
Sorry, I'm back. Can you hear me? Can I go
Yes, sir.
on? Okay, sorry. So this purpose still drives P&G to invest heavily in innovation, outspends the competition in R&D, and targets emerging markets with growth potential. You can see this is over 171 years. And they are still saying the most important or the most profound, of the factors that's contributing to the success is the purpose. So it's important in a strategy. I think I explained this one, trade-off, what it means, and continuity as well. Now, in brief, putting strategy in its place, just like summarizing what I've been saying since is, of course, you can't have a good strategy if there's no mission, if there's no vision, functional purpose, values, these are what drives mission and vision. And that's what also drives your strategy as well. So this will dovetail into what your objectives are, the specific targets, basically your whole OAS is what should actually be here. And of course, in developing your strategy, there is a need for analysis. Your inputs, there will be several inputs that that will make up your strategy. Industry analysis, customer or marketplace, trend, environmental, forecasts, computer analysis, assessment of internal strength, weaknesses, resources, your SWOT analysis and all of that. All these will come together to actually form your strategy. And at the end of the day, your strategy should be the one supporting your structure, your process, symbols, rewards, your people, activities, functional policies, and profiles. In other words, this is what I'll call strategy pyramid. It's also showing, is another way of what I just showed you now, that the strategy will start from the objective, to strategy, to tactics, to programs or initiatives. So this is how strategy development actually is. We need to also understand that strategies and tactics, they are different. You use strategy, you need tactics to actually execute strategy. So they actually work hand in hand. Strategy is more theoretical in the sense that you need to put a lot of analysis before you eventually say, okay, this is what you want to do. It's like what you want to do on the paper. So tactics is how you want to convert that thing on the paper to reality. Sometimes we have, in Nigeria especially, we have lovely policies on everything. We are talking about energy transition now, that policy, there are policies in place to drive that. But when it comes to the tactics, which is the field, tactics is like field, it's just like in the military. Before is where the battles, like they said, the battles are actually won before you get to the battleground. You cannot get to the battleground and that's where you start. So battles are actually won, with strategy, and it's actually the tactics, that is where the strategy will eventually be used. I mean, it's the tactics, that will be used to actually win the battle. It's descriptive, it's general, it's broad, it's a set of guidelines. So while tactics is more operational, it's an execution, it's specific, it's detailed, it's about implementation, So it's important for us to understand this part. Let me give examples, just of what strategy and the tactics relationship. Particular company is saying my strategy is to reduce bad debts from 15% to 10% in the coming fiscal year. So meaning that yes, the debt may not be totally down because probably their sales is only driven by credit. So, and say, okay, reduce apparel returns from 20% to 10% in the coming fiscal year. So it's a boutique, and it's saying my strategy for this year is to do this. And tactics, this is just a statement. How am I going to achieve it? Sell on credit only to salary earners in pre-selected organizations during the coming fiscal year with more flexible payment terms. So that is more specific now. So I want to reduce my debt rates, my bad debt. The tactics I will use now, when people come, I just ask them, where do you work? They tell me they don't have work, or they don't, or they are doing business. Which business? Just business. I know tactically I'm going to exclude them. I'm not going to sell to them. I will only sell to the guys who tell me I work with Ministry of so, or who works with art and art foundation because they have steady income. And say, okay, implement standard sizing practice and chart for all apparel. I'm sure women will be able to relate with this more. That will be size 8. They will say this one is size 8 UK, and the equivalent in the US is maybe size 10. So sometimes there could be confusion. And somebody is okay, I'm 10. 10 of where? UK or US? And by the time you get to the house, since you could not test it there, you discover that your size 10 is not actually the US zone, it's UK zone. So that they are now saying, okay, the best way to do that, or the tactics we are going to use, is we are going to have a standard sizing practice and chart. So they are going to match it, if the 10 of UK and they will align it. So once you say it's 10 of anywhere, this is what we are going to use. Now let's use this example of this also like a strategic statement. So look at this example now. The objective is I want to increase revenue by 15%. That's an objective. Strategy, position XYZ as the leading provider of information technology solutions to the discrete and process manufacturing sectors. So that's the strategy. You want to increase. So you must have what you are chasing, or what the strategy is going to drive. And the tactics is broadening product service line meetings to include ERP solutions for manufacturing in the $10 to $50 million revenue range. Develop PC-based manufacturing solutions for small manufacturers. These are tactics. The strategy is, this is where I'm going, is a direction. The strategy has shown the direction, but even that direction, to be able to navigate that direction, then they came up with tactics. And programs, which is the initiative for us to be able to do this, direct marketing campaign, promoting solutions to target market, attending manufacturing trade shows. This is just an example. I'm trying to be fast because I want us to actually finish by 8. I know it's also we need to understand that there are levels of strategy. There are also, there are different ways of categorizing strategy, but popularly or generally, there's a lot of strategy literature. We are sorry for corporate level. So generally, the literatures believe, stated or identify 3 levels: corporate level, business level, functional level. The 3 levels of strategy in an organization are all working together to help the business grow, scale, and compete for market dominance, which is actually, is like telling us the key purpose of strategy. Your strategy must be to enable the business to grow, to scale, to be able to compete. Once the business can grow, can scale, and can compete, definitely, I remember the third person, when we first asked a question, when we started this class, said, why is it that companies in Nigeria don't go beyond a particular generation? Is because there's no, is a failure on the part of strategy to make such company grow, to scale, and to compete. Now, the Functional strategy is like the base. This is like a pyramid, strategy level pyramid. The functional is actually strategy based on at the functional basis. You can have manufacturing strategy, you can have finance strategy, you can have marketing strategy. Even in marketing, you can have, or in finance strategy, you can even have pricing strategy, which is very, 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 very important. You don't just put price on your products without having a strategy. You must actually arrive at your strategy one way, your pricing. So you don't just put price, you must have a pricing strategy, because you might not be maximizing your, you might not be maximizing your profit if you don't have effective pricing strategy. It's important. And if you don't have effective pricing strategy that respond to the market, you can also lose market share, because you don't have pricing strategy. One of the key things when it comes to pricing strategy is this. Every product, that is this concept of in economics, concept of willingness to pay. Sometimes the actual value of a product is not actually in what you are selling it. It's actually in the maximum amount customers are willing to buy it or to pay for it. So it's always good for you to always, as your part of pricing strategy, to always tell what that price is. You just shoot straight to that amount. You can be selling something today now for 100,000 naira, but in actual sense, people are ready to pay 500,000. So it means that is where, so it means if you need to add value, more value to that product, you can add it. As long, you can add it and customer will still be able to pay. But if you are not able to determine the willingness to pay, and you go and you are already at the maximum that customer can pay for such products, and you are adding more unnecessary thing, and your cost is building up, you might be losing market share as a result. So it's important to have strategy at the functional level. And this also can be, this pricing can also work, can also be classified at business strategy level as well. Of course, you must have human resources strategy, which will determine how you actually recruit, how you hire people. It's important. Compensation policy, reward system, how do you promote, on what basis do you promote, how do you, all of that. The business strategy level is actually talking about, is actually the strategy that has to do with making the business competitive, making the business sustainable, making the business profitable. So we'll classify strategy at this level as business strategy level. And of course, the corporate strategy level is actually more of cultural. So how do we, all this strategy here, how do we promote the culture within the organization, so that all the strategy can work together. But mainly, it is at the corporate level that business determine, that organization determine what kind of business do we do. Because that is actually, it's at this purpose, it's at this level that organization is determining, is talking about its purpose. It's talking about aligning, its purpose with its strategy. And also, there are other strategy types. There's some, there's a literature which I will share with you later. I would like you to read it. It's Capture, Governance, and Resilience, Strategy Implications from the History of Rome, which is talking about how, in those days, the war is to actually capture, territories. So from there, there's a concept of capture and governance strategy, came up. So and it's still applicable to businesses. In your business, there should be a strategy to capture markets, to capture value. Your pricing can be a strategy to capture. So you also, but when you are able to capture, what about governance? So there's a need, and that is what you see. You see a lot of politicians, they have very robust capture strategy, as in how to win and get to the position. But when it comes to governance, it's a problem. They never thought of it. So it has to be it has to work hand in hand. As you are thinking about capturing, you have to also be thinking about governance. Because what it means is you can capture more than you can govern. And at the end of the day, you lose everything. So a lot of that, the operational strategies are part of a governance strategy. Customer service strategy and all of these, they are part of governance strategy. Also, you have what we call platform strategy. When I share this material, I might remove this portion for copyright issue, or I can redo it and put it back. So platform strategy provides a platform, provides infrastructure and rules for a marketplace that brings together producers and consumers. I'm sure you know Uber is an example of platform strategy. Uber does not have one single car, but they put every driver, car owners, they are all, in fact, at the time, Uber was valued more than General Motors. Uber, without a single vehicle, valued ahead of, General Motors, and you know what that one means. So it's also a strategy. So, and of course, platform strategy too, you have a lot of strategy that we also, you still have pricing strategy inside here. But what is important is still the same process, the same, if you are still developing, if you have a platform, if your business is going to run on a platform strategy, it's still the same way. You are still going to also develop or formulate workable strategy. I made mention of this blue ocean strategy when we were talking about BlackBerry the other time. It's about creating new industry to make competition irrelevant. But one thing about blue ocean strategy is that, yes, if you have been able to develop that strategy, you have to make it watertight. You have to make it that the competition will be perpetually irrelevant. And that's the mistake BlackBerry actually made. Yes, the strategy worked for them, but what about sustainability? Forgetting that you don't actually have control over people's preference. For example, the issue of the tiny keyboards, the tiny key to touchscreen skin. So you don't have, yes, a lot of times some things are working, some businesses are moving simply because of because of no alternative. So people are making money today because there's no alternative. And once you don't realize it, that what is making you to make money is because there's no alternative, just know that the days of the days of that such business, are just numbered. So it's always good for every business to keep reviewing their strategy over and over. Know why your strategy is working for now. Know why. Also, you need to be aware of possible threats to such strategy. I'll be stopping here. I want to say a big thank you for listening. I know I've actually taking more than, I know we usually stop by 7:30, according to Madam Deborah. I will share the material. I want to encourage us to read more.
Thank you,
Like I
sir.
said, this is just like a guide, or like a kind of something to sensitize us on the need to be actually strategic in any of our approaches. That is what I've just done. So I'll also share that the Rome case study with us. Maybe a couple of other materials on strategy I'll also share. So at our layer that we can read. Thank you very much. God bless you. If you have any question, I can still take it.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And some question can still, if you drop a question on WhatsApp, I can look through it and answer it. But what the brother will do is, if there's any question for me, please just private chat me and say I should go to the platform and go and answer. So in case I'm not checking at that time.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
This is Oluwaseun. Thank you very much for the session.
Oh, okay, Sean. How are you doing?
That's simplified, lecture on strategy, because honestly, I believe that most of us understood. And thank you so much, sir, for breaking it down.
You're welcome. And thanks for listening too.
Yes, sir. I would like to seek for clarification on, is there a major difference between strategy and OKR? That's objective and key results.
Come again, is that?
I'd like to confirm if there's a difference between strategy and OKRs, because largely tech companies seems to tilt towards using of OKR.
KPI, okay. KPI is actually a kind of because your strategy, like I said, strategy topic is wide. It's because of our time. We have actually gone into execution, and of course, because execution is actually very critical. Maybe if you have time, we can. Please note this. Probably if there's any, if I can have chance. Some other time, we can actually talk about, even if you just want to talk about execution. When we talk about execution, KPI is one of the, we'll be talking about KPI, we'll be talking about something like balance scorecard, measurements. That's actually, so it's also part of it, like I said, because when we talk about all these objective now, the objective, we say we are going to be specific. That being specific is like a target, it's like a goal. And it can also be cascaded into KPI. So they are all components of strategy. If KPI is designed without strategy in mind, it probably will not actually be effective. So they are all part of, you can see when we talk about the level of strategy, your KPIs are actually set at the functional levels. That is where your KPIs are actually set. KPI is set for two ways. KPI can be set for a business unit, and KPI will be set for individuals. Understand? It will be set for business unit, it will be set for individual. For instance, me as the MD of Matrix Fertilizer, I have my KPI. I have KPI for the company. There's KPI for me. My KPI dovetail into KPI of my staff. So that, to the last person. So that is, I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes, sir, you did. Thank you very much, sir.
Any other question?
Okay, while answering the question, we kept hearing KPI, KPI. I don't know if everybody on the call understood KPI. So that's my question. I know that's key performance indicators, if I'm not, but I wouldn't know if
Thank you for clarifying. For
everybody on the
expatiating.
call, yeah, 'cause that felt a bit confusing. Do we have any other questions? That wasn't clear. I would like doctor to clarify on before we continue. Few seconds to go. Do we have questions? Remember, he said something. He said, we don't have wrong answers. So if we don't have wrong answers, I mean, there are no stupid questions as well. So please, no matter how awkward it might sound, let's raise them. Okay, in absence of any questions, I'd like to appreciate you deeply, sir. Thank you one more time for availing us of your time. I mean, I can imagine your itinerary. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing this time and sharing with us from the wealth of your knowledge. We are deeply grateful and we do not take it for granted. So,
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, I think Mr. Nelson just joined in. If you would want to drop one or two things before we actually close.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jide. It's always good to have you around. I have to dash out. Thank you. I have to go and go over this video again, and I would encourage the rest of the class to do so. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you and your family. God bless.
You are welcome, sir. Like I told Deborah, I don't know if you joined then. I said, well, you know, it's a
So I think you're breaking. Or is it my network? I think it's breaking badly.
Sorry, doctor, we didn't hear the last 50 seconds. Hello, doctor. Ouch. Okay, yeah. The doctor is breaking badly. Ouch. Okay. Anyway, hello, Deborah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Doctor's network was bad, but I think he's back now.
Okay. So I'm just saying that I will not mind maybe before end of the program, if I can have at least, if it's just 1 hour and a half hours or thereabout, to talk about strategy execution. You know, we have talked about the development of strategy and some other things. So not today, any other time, but just give me a heads up.
Sure. The has been the habit of organizing. Deborah has been in the habit of organizing extra classes for resource persons that need extra time. Thank you so much, sir, for making that time. I keep telling our class participants, the value of some of the time that is being spent on the platform. And I know that yours is quite immense. Thank you so much. And just to encourage the rest of the class that what was taught today is the beginning of an introduction to a life of studying strategy. It's a continuous process. I'm sure Dr. Jide had made that clear. And it's best when studied on a daily basis. With the principles you've learned today, you could apply that to observe, phenomenon that has happened around you, business cases, MTN, Globacom, all the different firms you've seen playing around in the diverse space. Just use those principles to study them on an ongoing basis, and your profits will definitely show. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Over to you, Deborah. Thank you.
So much, sir. So this is just a reminder, having Mr. Talk available tomorrow by 4, please, not be so. So tomorrow we're going to be discussing